prayer. In the words of Charles Fillmore, allow your mind to become aware of pure being, pure substance. Nowhere to go, nothing to do, just be. For God or source or spirit is infinite good, infinite being. So all we have to do is be all that we can be, and we manifest good. We manifest God in the earth. And so in this sacred space, we give thanks. We give thanks for all that is. We give thanks for community and for joy and for laughter. We let go and we move ourselves out of the way through our powers of elimination, and we allow the presence that is never in absence to move and to bless and to heal and empower us. We speak life into this service. We allow the mind of God to speak and carry forth the message and the service in only the way that it knows how, in its infinite wisdom. We allow ourselves to be vessels of good. We speak blessings on our Monday through Saturday, knowing that we are already empowered to carry forth that in which we need to do. We speak blessings on those that are tuning in online and those that are on the way here. We speak empowerment to their lives and to their families, and we allow the presence of God to go forth in this service. And let's have an amazing service, y'all. In the name and nature of the living one, we affirm that this service is blessed, and so it is. So it is.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So this morning I'm going to do the meditation, but before we get into that, I was talking with some of our members last Sunday. Is that me? Let me step back. So I was talking to some members last Sunday, and as you all know, we have a couple of members that are dealing with health issues. Jolie Fletcher and Brother George brought to my attention that there's another member also here who's dealing with cancer right now, could really use our affirmation towards their healing. I thought it would be a great idea to set up a sign-up sheet that I will put in the lobby later on this afternoon for anybody that would like to deliver gift cards, sign up to do check-in phone calls or things like that for just our members that could really use it right now. And it's just a way of letting them know that even though they're not able to physically come here, that we're thinking about them and that we are holding their healing and love and light in our hearts and minds, and that we are focused on that part of their journey at this time in their lives. So if you would like to participate in that, I will set up a sign-in sheet in the back. I forgot what we were going to call it, so it's still a work in progress. Someone gave me a name, and I don't know. Right now, we're going to call it helper team, and we'll work on it. It's a work in progress. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with this wonderful passage that was shared with me with my sister Nacha, and then I will sit down and get started on our meditation part. So just bear with me. So, from The Art of Happiness over here, it's called The Art of Happiness. It's a handbook for living. And the first part that I'm going to read, it says, I believe that the purpose of our life is to seek happiness. That is clear. Whether one believes in religion or not, whether one believes in this religion or that religion, we are all seeking something better in life. So I think the very motion of our life is towards happiness. So with that being said, I would like to encourage you all to get very comfortable in your seats. I'm going to sit down if y'all don't mind. I like to be seated when I meditate. I get cozy. Uncross your legs, cross your arms. Take a deep breath. As you take your next deep breath in, and I want you to take 3 of these, I want you to focus in on a good feeling. Imagine what color that good feeling is, and breathe it in. Imagine that feeling, that color going to the top of your head. And as you exhale, flowing through to the tips of your toes and out into the universe to bless others. Let's do one more. And if you could, imagine someone, something, somewhere that you would like to feel the blessings of this good feeling. We want to send love and light into the world. And as we inhale, we take the good in. And as we exhale, we release and give it back. Sit in this happy place for a few minutes, receiving and releasing and allowing the peace to come over you, the joy to come over you. Extend it to your neighbor next to you. I want you to imagine that whomever, whatever, that you sent those good emotions to, visualize their reception. Visualize all the good that will come from them, you, or it, receiving your good intentions. And as you sit in that good feeling, tell yourself, and it shall be done, and so it is. Say in your mind, it is done. I want you to slowly come back to your body. Maybe move your toes. Feel yourself returning to the room, breathing in that good, extending it from your head to your toes. Take a deep, deep breath. And open your eyes. Namaste.
on, put your hands together for our beautiful band. So proud of you, Brother Jacob. You did an amazing job. Put your hands together for yourself and for the narrative. Here she goes. Anyway. Oh my God, you guys are amazing. Take a few seconds just to kind of relax back into the presence, if you will. Just that same spirit. I always feel like the work is already done. And no, it doesn't mean I don't want to teach. But the work is already done because you're here. That laughter before service starts, our conversations in the lobby, the reason why it takes a minute or two to kind of get service going, it's because Spirit has already done the work. So just take a deep breath and sort of relax into this awareness. Allow your mind to create a set point so that Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, as you move through life and all of its vicissitudes, you can remember what this feels like. You can return back to this feeling again and again, the feeling of being home, of being accepted, of being welcomed and valued. Whisper to yourself, I am wanted here. Whisper to yourself, I belong here. Oh, to live in a world where you are accepted as you are, where you know you are loved beyond measure. In the words of the Father to the prodigal son, don't you know that all that I have is yours? You don't have to ask God for anything. The answer is already yes. And it sounds like a prosperity message, I know, but when you realize that you are what you are asking for, the only job is to eliminate the barriers that prevent you from understanding your true identity, and then to live it out, live that truth as best as you know how. Take a moment to rest and relax. Rest and relax. Take another big deep breath in through the nose. Release the divine sound of And so it is, and so it is. Let's point this energy towards those that are watching online. Say this with me. We love you. We bless you. We truly appreciate you. And we behold the Christ in you. And so it is. Our ministry is supported by partners like you. Remember to make your gift by logging on to unitybham.org and click on giving. Moderators are standing by, so wherever you do see the service, whether on Facebook, our website, or on YouTube, definitely make a comment, put your prayer request, and we will hold that highest watch for you. And if you are in the house and you do have a prayer request, our prayer chaplains are here. Put your hands together for Mother Sharon. And I think Mother Evelyn is online, so I'll go ahead and say hi to Mother Evelyn too. Mother Evelyn is also praying for you guys as well. And a big good morning. Put your hands together one more time for yourself. You do deserve credit because out of all the places in the world, you decided to come to church on a Sunday morning where the sun is not quite outside. You know, it's like you wake up and it's like, I think I'm going to go back to sleep for a few more minutes. You can't do that. When that alarm clock blinks and you say, I'm going to give myself a few more minutes, that few more minutes turns into 30, and before you know it, oh my God, it's late. And then somebody yells out, I ain't going. You can go ahead. And it's like, well, you ain't going, I ain't going either. So when that alarm clock goes off, go ahead and get up. You know, I've learned that if you kind of just start the motion of getting dressed and everything, the feeling will come. You know, you can't always wait on the feeling. You just got to go ahead through the motion, and then the feeling catches up with you down the road. Once you've gotten gas and driven past Buc-ee's and pulled in the parking lot and you're talking to people before you know, it's like, you know what, I'm glad I came. So if you listen to that feeling, the body always wants to relax, but that's okay. That's okay. And that's kind of what I want to talk about today as we collectively navigate the theme of spiritual community. Everywhere you go, you make community. And spiritual community isn't just here, but it's at home, in your family. Say this with me. You can't have spirit without the human spirit. So it's like wherever you meet one another, you create spiritual community. In the grocery store, I go to Ingles sometimes in the evenings, and we got a whole community. All of us are standing in line. We want that macaroni and cheese or whatever. We want some mashed potatoes because we don't feel like making them at home, and everybody knows each other there. It's like, oh, you here? Oh, you Mr. Thursday? You Mr. It's like everywhere you go, everybody knows who you are. I go to another restaurant named Grits and I sit down. They're like, "You're here for breakfast, so you do want the key lime pie first, right?" Yeah. I'm like, "Yes, you have to have dessert first." Y'all know me so well. It's like everywhere you go, you make family. And that energy is what empowers us. Life in all of its vicissitudes goes up and down and up and down. And what I want to share with you guys on today is if we really listen to the vicissitudes of life and allow it to really dictate to us who we are as spiritual, realized beings, then what happens is we're all over the place. So say this message title with me. Let it begin. Let it begin. With me. With me. It is a great allowing. And we sing the peace song every week at the end of service. And that letting it begin with me is a reminder to allow it. You have to allow God to flow through. And here's the interesting thing about spirit, especially as we teach in this house. You're not waiting on the presence of God to come in. You are saying yes to the flow of divinity that is coming outward. And so your job is to say yes. I mean a deep yes in your mind, in your heart. When you feel like you're going to tense up, you just say yes. So when you get that Christmas list, go ahead and in your mind say yes. Don't say it out loud. Start there in your mind. Because check this out. When you say yes in your soul and in your spiritual life, the flow of life moves through you in such a way you realize that you have a capacity to do more and to be more than you ever realized. Real quick, in an experiment, lift your hands and reach as far as you can. This is your human capacity, right? This is as far as you can reach. And they tell us, you put your hands down. Don't let your reach extend your grasp, right? But here's the thing about spirit. Say this with me, spirit. Spirit. There is an awareness and a power and a divinity and a divine life that is within you that when you have reached as far as you can, and physically you say, "I can't do anymore." If you remember the phrase, the song that we sing every week, let it begin with me. If you allow the divine to move through you, then the presence of God that shows up with me. Say this with me. I am the place where God shows up. Oh, that wonderful, wonderful song by my dear uncle. Amazing, amazing song. But when the presence of God, when you say yes, it moves beyond your reach. And then you realize, I don't have to do it alone. I don't have to do this by myself. I don't have to exhaust all of my strength. When I run out of ideas, when things don't go the way I expect them to go, I remember there's another gear in me. I don't have to just throw myself into this thing. Say this with me. I got help. You do. You got help. You got assistance. And you don't have to ask for it. Charles Fillmore, our wonderful Unity co-founder, said that all you have to do is allow yourself to become aware of pure being. Pure being. Willy Wonka has that wonderful song about imagination. If you just can accept and allow the presence of the divine to move through you, I'm telling you, it will change your life. And so, when we take a look at the title, Let It Begin With Me, of course, I do want to talk about the peace song. Anybody remember the history of the peace song? Written in about 1955 by Miss Jill Jackson. And so the story goes, Jill Jackson encountered some difficulties in life, which is what we all do. And so in the process of encountering those difficulties, she decided to actually do the work. Say this with me, you got to do the work. And so Miss Jackson did the work, and her therapist actually referred her to Unity. Unity is a positive path for spiritual living, and it's been that way since its inception. And so in the process of going to Unity, some Unitarians, so Unitics, Unity folks say that, you didn't hear that, say that her daughter, who was a teenager at the time, advised her to go to a youth rally. And so while attending a youth rally, she was even more inspired. And legend has it that she woke up one morning with the phrase, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me," in her soul. And I think that speaks volumes to where we are today. Again, we have to, at some point, realize that it's not by might. Say this affirmation with me. It's not by might. It's not by power. It's by my strength, says the Spirit. The King James Version says, by my strength, saith the Lord of hosts. But it's the presence of God, the presence of infinite good. If you can't say God, add a to it. Just say good. Say this with me, good. This presence that's never in absence when you say yes to it, oh my God, it changes your world. And it did so for Miss Jackson. And while researching this message, I thought about some New Testament stories that really paired with the message to remind us all to allow it to begin with us, to keep it simple, to don't try so hard. And even the things in front of us that do look hard, remember to invite the presence of God in. Even if you think you got it, still take God with you. Say this with me. Don't forget your principles. They're like your vitamins. You take them with you. We get up in the morning, we go through our normal routines, we wash our face and brush our teeth. Hopefully we brush our teeth. And we go on out into the world and we live our life. But when you take truth with you, it's like, you know what? I do got a passenger. Say this with me. Spirit walks with me and talks with me and reminds me that I am its own. It is a constant friend, a constant companion, a constant parent, because it does the reparenting work too. So when we take it with us, y'all, it shows up in powerful ways through us. And so the New Testament has some amazing information that pairs well with the life and the story of how Miss Jill Jackson allowed the presence of God to show up in her, with her, through her, and drop that wonderful statement, let it begin with me. I took a look at the book of John. You guys remember the book of John, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Historically, John is not a part of the Synoptic Gospels, but John is a very powerful book because, in my opinion, it's the most magical out of all the Gospels. While all the other Gospels have miracles, John has signs. It's like all of these powerful demonstrations that are occurring in the book. And the cool thing about the book of John is when you look at it historically, if you're a Bible nerd, you'll find out that based on the way and the style that the book is written, that book probably had an earlier source that it was copied from. Because none of the other synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, if you're interested in the history, actually had names for quite a while. The names were added much, much, much later. And so a lot of our historians and our scholars and our teachers, if you're interested in all of that stuff, they told us that these names were added much, much, much later on, but they all started off as oral traditions. When we take a look at the book of John to try to determine how we can allow the peace of God, the presence of God, all that God is, we are, to show up in us and as us and with us, if you're like me, you might scroll on down to the 5th chapter. And in the 5th chapter, there's an interesting story. And it goes a little like this, and I'll ad lib. Jesus moves on through as he normally does, and he travels the circuit. And he decides to go on up through Jerusalem, and he finds himself and his disciples, his crew, on the way to a place called Bethsaida. Say those with me, Bethsaida. Or Bethsaida, depending on how you pronounce it. And the story goes that on the way there, when they make that stop, they end up at this wonderful place, this wonderful, almost like a resort or a hospital. It's a spa, a place where people typically go when they need healing. And there was a man there who had an infirmity for 38 years. Anybody know where I'm going? According to legend, this particular place was called Bethsaida, which actually means the place of mercy. And just to kind of pause here for a bit, one of the things that I did discover just in my own personal study, not just of this message, but of my own just spiritual practice, on the road to allowing the presence of God to show up as me and really just saying yes and letting it begin with me, I had to also give myself some grace for the times in my life where I didn't. Anybody got any regrets? Especially we move through the holiday season. It's like, oh, I should have started that diet. I started that diet in January and I said I was going to lose this weight. And now it's December and instead of losing weight, I gained 2 extra pounds. You give yourself some grace. Say this with me. Give myself some grace. Because through that process of allowing you saying yes, You are allowing the presence of God to show up in you, with you, through you, as you, but you're also giving yourself grace for the times where you feel it may not have. And that's okay, because even your mistakes are also a part of the journey. If you try to create this perfect picture and hold this perfect picture in your head about how life should be, you miss out on the wonderful twists and turns that life can take, because life can take you on a journey sometimes. Those ups and those downs. But I found that it's not so much the ups and the highs that really connect me to my divine life and strengthen my spiritual practice. It's the downs where I really do discover who God is in me. Am I by myself today? And so, as Jesus moves through Bethsaida, the place of mercy, and ends up at this wonderful place, he discovers that there's a man in chapter 5 who has an infirmity for 38 years, and Jesus asks him a question. When he sees the man, they have a wonderful conversation. One of the things that you will discover just by reading the New Testament, if you're falling in love with the Bible again, is that all of the stories and all of the characters in the Bible, although they are happening externally, when you look at them spiritually and metaphysically and psychologically, they're also happening internally. So Jesus represents the Christ principle, the presence of God that shows up in us, that's always guiding us and delivering us and strengthening us and giving us wisdom and all of those wonderful spiritual attributes that we call our 12 powers. But this man laying by the bedside of the pool of Bethesda represents those parts of us that are still in the process of being developed. And this is a beautiful story because it reminds us that you don't have to have it all together all the time. You don't have to be perfect. You do the best you can with what you have, and God does the rest. Say this with me. I will do the best I can with what I have, and God will do the rest. And the beautiful thing is when you allow that consciousness to permeate your mind and permeate your life, you let go of the supposed to be's. This is supposed to be like that. This is supposed to look like this. She's supposed to do better. He's supposed to do better. And you allow grace to come in and people to be themselves, and your entire life blossoms. And so Jesus has a conversation with this individual, and the individual tells him, he says, hey, listen, this is a holy, sacred spot, and I am going to dip myself in this water when an angel comes down to trouble it. But I couldn't get to it because someone else got there before me. And Jesus says, you ain't got to worry about all that. Will you be made whole? And it's a tricky thing when you look at it. The first thing he does is when he says, will you be made whole? He asks him a question, which shows us that we are empowered with the gift of choice, even during those times in our life where we feel like we have no choice. Say this affirmation with me. There's always a choice. Even if you have to take a step back, you have to think, you have to breathe, you have to allow the presence of God to speak to you, to speak through you. You always have a choice. And then if you look at it also, will thou be made whole is a command. It's an affirmation where Jesus is telling this individual to will yourself whole. And the marvelous thing happens, which always happens in these types of stories. The individual gets up, takes up his bed, and walks. The human capacity for good and for empowerment and for self-determination is something that is so marvelous. As soon as you have counted yourself out, another gear kicks in. As soon as you have given up, it's almost like if you could see the future. As soon as you say, I quit. I'm not going to do this anymore. And then God steps in. But right as this individual's on the verge of giving up, the presence of God shows up in the form of Jesus and tells him to will himself whole. And so he does that. He picks himself up. And this is what I want you guys to do, especially on Monday and Tuesday as you move throughout your week. When you notice life looks a little weird, just to kind of keep it simple, remember that this is a choice. These teachings, these principles, we have to choose them, but then you also have to will them. Say this with me. You have to do the affirmative work. You repeat these strong, positive I am statements to yourself over and over again until every part of you believes it. Not just the good parts, the parts that we can identify with. This part to me looks like Jesus. And then we got other parts that are still in development. Repeat these things to yourself over and over again. Speak life to yourself until every part of you believes it. And you don't have to get it right. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to hold yourself up, hold yourself together, because the presence of God that shows up in you, with you, as you, is there as a companion moving through you, moving through the good parts and moving through the difficult parts. So to allow it to begin with you guys, all it really starts with a yes. It's like, God, here I am. Spirit, here I am. This is the best that I can do. This is the best that my family can do. This is the best that my children can do. And with that allowing, with that deep, concentrated, human yes, God steps in and does the rest and works miracles in your life. Do you believe that on today? Yes. Take a deep breath. Let this information encourage you, saturate your soul, empower you to know that life is beautiful and amazing. And right where you are is exactly where you are supposed to be. And the presence of God that is in you, with you, as you, will give you and guide you and direct you to everything that you feel you're lacking. And when you get there, you're going to find out that you had what you needed the whole time. Thank you guys for listening. Peace and blessings. Ooh. Those of you that do give online, remember to log on to unitybham.org and click on Giving. LaDonna is going to lead us in a special selection. Take it away, LaDonna.
Okay. Hello.
Hey.
Hey. Hopefully, Julie will lead us and go tell it on the mountain. Everybody stand up and help out.
I was about to sit down. We bless this offering, knowing it will be used for the building of this ministry. We bless the givers. We declare it will return back to them. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And so it is. Put your hands together for yourselves.
All right, thank you. Now let's join in Let There Be Peace on Earth. Protection. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Wherever we are, God is.
Wherever I am, God is, and all is well.
Thank you much, and thank you down the stairs.